welcome everybody. This is really a momentous occasion, I think, for Boulder City, and we didn't want to make a big spectacle of it or anything like that, but I think it's important enough for Boulder City that we wanted to make sure the news media got wind of it early on. And so, before I talk about a little bit about the transaction that's in the works, and I apologize for the noise in the background, but I just wanted to give a little bit of history on this, not only this building, but I think on Ida Browder, who she's the one that built this building, and originally it was built where you see the arched porticos over here. That was the original, and she was an Austrian countess. She was born in, I think, 1889, and she married in Virginia, World War I veteran who ultimately passed away, and so she became a widow. And she had bounced around to different places in the United States with her husband, Salt Lake and California and whatnot. But she decided, as a widow with 2 children, to come to Boulder City because she heard that it was a great place to raise a family, even back then. So that was just when the dam was being built. And so she's really a great success story. She built the first area, or the first building in Boulder City that was kind of in the free enterprise district. So, you know, it was owned by the federal government. The city was built for the federal government to house the dam workers, and it really wasn't about free enterprise until she advocated for that and got this first building. So she hired a contractor. She constructed that first building over here that you see where the archways are. And in 1931, on Christmas Day, she actually just had a get-together, but a couple of days later, it just kept going, and so she opened it for business. And it then became, over the next almost a century, or 7 decades or more, 8 decades or more, the longest continuing running business in Boulder City. And it was run as a cafe all that time. In 1932, she expanded it out. She had it on these parts right here. So you can even kind of see that the porticos went around the corner on the original, and they just got filled in. But so you would have seen porticos wrapping around that side right there originally. And so she added this part on and continued to do business for the next 10 years or so in Boulder City. Her health started failing her a little bit. She had heart issues, and so she moved around the country, went to the coast in California, but she still continued to own. She was one of the movers and shakers of all of southern Nevada throughout that time. She established numerous auxiliaries in Boulder City, and many of them were established right here in her own little building and in her own house over on 5th Street when she ultimately moved there. She actually lived in a tent while this was being built. Her daughter remembers living back by the kitchen equipment when it was still under construction. And so, but some of the auxiliaries, and I wrote down just a few things, so I'm going to refer to my notes. This is kind of my little napkin here, and it's appropriate for, I think, for the cafe that we're talking about, and I think for the business deal that happened here. But some of the things she did, she was either the founder or the co-founder of all of these things. Veterans of Foreign Wars, in American Legion, the March of Dimes for infantile paralysis, the Girl Scouts, the PTA, the school board in Boulder City, where she was the first and only woman that ever served on that. She was a big advocate for expanding the school. She got the high school going with a gym and some other classrooms. She was a co-founder of our Chamber of Commerce that continues to this day. She was heavily involved in legislation of all sorts, smog control. She was a big impetus behind getting Nevada Southern University started, which ultimately became UNLV. She even ran for the assembly at one point and did not win, but she was always advocating for change. And one of the main things she advocated change for was to separate Boulder City, incorporate it, separate it from the federal government. And she led the charge to do that. And So in 1960, when that happened, guess who got the first deed to the first building in incorporated Boulder City? It wasn't a residence, it was these buildings here. She got it, and she paid something like $7,800 for that building. And you know, you can construction costs back then, when she first did her original building, her electrical was like $12 or something like that. I think I saw in the file. So crazy. But of course, eventually this became the coffee cup, the world famous coffee cup, and it ran that way. It's changed owners for